You're listening to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay. This is the Acupuncture on Air program. It's our pleasure, as always, to have in the studio and looking very suave this morning, Heiko. How you going, Heiko?
I'm very good. I'll just tell you about the story about this. I've got a very good friend, Troy Bailey. We actually met in university like many years ago, and he's now living in Singapore. And then he saw the YouTube show, and he says, "Oh, I'll send you something, Dan. You've got to want you to look like Steven Seagal." So he sent me down this.
Yes, you
but
do.
He says I have to sit in a certain way like this,
right. That's it, exactly. You've got the look.
Yeah.
Show the people. Show the people.
Hey, Troy.
I should have put my sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Jeez. I'm the uncool dude.
Yeah, that's right. Well, maybe Troy can send something for you.
Sort of
spruce up your image a bit.
Yeah, could. Yeah, I might have to dye my hair black,
Yeah.
but I quite like that jacket.
Yeah.
What if you
I'm wondering if we could maybe go like to Alexander's here and say, look, do you want to dress us each week? Give us a new outfit
just
each
like we're
week.
on the telly.
Yeah.
Today, talking about a subject which is probably dear to a lot of people's heart, and that is migraines.
Yep, acupuncture and migraines. And I mean, of course, I've read about a lot of study about it and treated a lot of people with it. But as you know, it's probably a very, very high incidence of people. According to Wikipedia, it's about 15% of
That's a lot.
the population. So again, that's taking into account these statistics that they've done. But it's hard to sort of say. Some people might have one day off a year with a migraine. Other people, they're having a severe migraine every second day.
Yeah.
So somehow you get that. But I think you, like me, you haven't met anyone that doesn't suffer from migraines.
Although, are there migraines and there are migraines? It's like when guys get a cold, they've got the man flu. It's not really the flu. Is it the same with headaches, that you can get a severe headache that's not a migraine, or is there a sort of a level where it becomes a migraine? Yeah,
well, again, if you want to get really technical about the true classic migraine, they're supposed to have a couple of fundamental things, and one of them is people usually will wake up and they know they're going to get one. Then they can have this funny aura.
Yep.
And then as the day progresses or the hours progress, then it can lead. And technically, a migraine is on one side of the head, but then many times people say that it's on both sides, or it's more on one side and a bit on the other side. And then sometimes certain headaches mimic a type of migraine. So there is that sort of crossover area.
I suppose migraine is a modern type scientific medical term, but the Chinese must have been treating migraines. What did they call them years ago? Yeah,
well, as I said, I think the traditional Chinese method was like a one-sided headache, and I know that migraines and / one-sided headaches have been around not only in China but probably everywhere in the world. Even the Romans, and Galen, he was quite a well-known physician from that time, and what he used to call it hemicrania, and meaning one side of the head.
Yeah.
And I think you might be interested in a couple of the old treatments, and even you would be able to prescribe these. And one of them is that you lie in the bathtub with an eel. Right? Yeah, you could have a little treatment room out the back there.
Yeah, stick a couple of eels in there.
Yeah,
get your
people to come
twice
in.
as quick.
And then particularly in the medieval ages, in Europe and in England, as the modern doctor was evolving, one of their treatments was drilling a hole into the head.
Oh God, imagine that.
To let the pressure out. And it's interesting that they actually do that, because a migraine sufferer will tell you, right? They'll say, look, that's what it feels like. There's this pressure in the head, and they almost jokingly say, yeah, if you could drill a hole in my head and let it out, that's
they'd like that to happen.
Yeah.
Did it work? Is that what happens though?
Well, of course, in those days particularly, you can imagine the problems they had with contamination and infection, and then hitting the brain, and then killing the patient, or
fix the migraine, no?
Yeah.
What causes migraines in Chinese medical terms?
Yeah, well, first, it's very quickly in Western medicine. It's still, with all the research that's been done, the general thing is it's still unknown what causes it. They know there's a couple of parallels and symptoms that exist with it, such as it can be hormonal, it can be this. But in Chinese medicine, there's a number of causes, and the most common one clinically seen that I would find, and most other acupuncturists that I know, is a liver involvement. And I've mentioned before how Chinese medicine is loosely, everything is based on yin and yang.
Yeah.
And we say that the liver, it also has a yin and yang component. And then we say that if the yin component becomes weak for some reason, then the yang component becomes excessive, and then it separates and it floats upwards. And then so you get too much yang coming up into the head, which gets stuck.
So one of the biggest causes of problems with the liver, I guess, and you will know, is alcohol. So if we give up drinking alcohol, does that mean no more migraines?
No, unfortunately not, because I have many migraine patients that I've seen over the years, and some of them are just completely non-alcohol drinkers, or very, very casual social drinkers. And of course, I think some people would say, yeah, definitely if I drink too much alcohol, it seems to trigger that I will get a migraine. But it's not necessarily just the alcohol that's going. There's many other factors, I think, that come in, for the liver. Particularly in Chinese medicine too. The liver is involved with a certain emotional component. We say that different types of emotions and mental feelings are associated with different organs. Like for example, the kidneys is to do with fear, the lungs can be to do with sadness, the spleen to do with worry, too much thinking. The liver, however, is to do with anger. And anger includes irritability, impatience, hatred, frustration, all these, road rage, all these things is affecting the liver. So if for some reason you're in a work or a home environment, and there's going to be more irritability and things happening, these are triggers that upset the liver. We say they can block the liver energy, and it pent up and it builds up.
So more angry people get them than us chilled out guys like you and me. But we still get them, don't we?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, it's sometimes if the liver is very deficient, right, it tends to be that you end up with more depressive type of a syndrome as opposed to an angry type of a syndrome. We say like when the liver's real excessive, you're angry and it's coming out, but when it can also that coming back in, being depressed, being flat. And again, these things build up, and it may not manifest as anger.
What about lack of sleep? I mean, if we're not getting enough sleep, does that give us headaches and migraines?
Yeah, and that's a definite one with the Chinese medicine correlation. And many migraine patients will tell you, if I'm not getting enough sleep or enough good sleep, and it's building up, right? There might have been, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks of some stress or things happening, waking up for the kids or something, and then that's triggered the migraine, and that comes back to the liver too in Chinese medicine, because we say that one of the functions of the liver is that at night when you sleep and you lie down, we say the blood will flow back, go to the liver, and that has this sort of like rejuvenative type process to help for the immune system and strengthen you against catching colds and flus, things like that. So if that's not happening, the blood's not flowing back, the liver's not doing its job, and then time after time, if it happens for a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever, then this imbalance, if you like, builds up, then it separates, floats up, gives you the migraine attack again. Okay,
so I've done a bit of research myself on migraines because I too suffer from them, but Wikipedia says migraines can be hormonal. That wouldn't happen in guys, would it? That's more for women.
I guess from that, because many women will have migraines before the period, and then sometimes it's during the period they will get one. And again, if you think, Chinese medicine, the liver is basically this big organ. It's like a balloon full of blood, and then what happens is that the menstrual cycle, you're losing the blood, and they've lost too much in terms of your general normal supply of blood.
Yep.
And again, the blood being yin, being fluid, it's weak, then it can't hold the yang separates, it comes up. And so that's why with menstrual problems, we often will treat the liver.
Yeah.
And of course, in Western scientific terms, I'll say, well, that's just crazy, that's nonsense. But yeah. It's a different way to look at it as opposed to it being wrong or whatever.
So what can women do to minimise the effects of that?
Women?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's it's culturally in China, women generally, they look after their hormones slash menstrual cycle health more effectively than Western women, because over the years they've realised that there are certain herbs. One of them, for example, is dongui or angelica root, and they will have some of that after the menstrual cycle, maybe cooked with some red dates, cooked with a bit of chicken, or cooked with some green vegetable or whatever as a sort of a tonic to build up the blood again, because they know they will tend to not overstrain themselves during the menstrual cycle. Whereas here in the West, it's sort of like, everybody's even, everything's the same. Like menstrual cycle, I'll do a triathlon, I'll go and swim in the Antarctic.
Yes.
Everything. But it does have its toll on the body, that this is the situation. And in China, they will do even. Because my wife's involved with some of the Chinese homestay students here in Havelock, and the teenage girls there, I mean, they won't go swimming if they're having their period, whereas the Western girls are going, you must be crazy, like
just do it.
Yeah. So, but
now that dongui that you mentioned is, first of all, how do you spell it? And where can you get it? Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll spell it out for you, and I'll put it onto the YouTube. To the comment section.
Yeah.
But it's more commonly known in the West as angelica root, and you can get it from health food stores in a pill form. But you're paying for a lot of marketing and packaging and labelling and things like that. The simplest way is some of the Asian Chinese grocery stores. It'll be there just in the packets amongst the other different herbs. You can ask them. And it's very inexpensive, and you can just get a little of it, 3 grams of it, 2 grams of it. You put it in a chicken soup or something.
Casserole. Anything.
Yep, and it doesn't sort of taste the best, right? When it's too strong, but if you just have it mildly, it's very simple and easy to get.
So what happens, Heiko? I wake up in the morning, I've either got a migraine or I feel one coming on. I get on the blower and I say, Heiko, I'm coming to see you. Get the needles ready. Is that what happens?
If it's not severe and it's sort of, and you can get to it in time, that would be okay. But what you find is that most cases, and most acupuncture will probably be busy for that morning, so by the time you can get in, a few hours have kicked in. And then I think you're actually better off to stay at home, lie in bed and sleep it off, as opposed to, what it's like if you've had a migraine, the last thing you want to be doing is hopping in the car and driving across town and waiting in the waiting room, and then you're nauseous and all that sort of stuff, and usually that would make it worse, right? So you want to actually be, and again you see the migraine triggers that response to lie down flat to get that blood back to the liver, right? And that makes it part of, that's why most migraine sufferers will say the best thing and the main thing that works is lying down and sleeping it off.
Yeah, definitely.
So then I would reckon you're having a course of treatment, because there's a reason why you're getting the migraines. And I said, and if this liver is the problem, you need a course to help to balance and regulate the liver. And so then you might have a course of treatment. It might be a couple of times a week for a few months or a couple of months. And so then you come in, when you're not under the attack, and then you're getting your liver better, and then hopefully then also with a bit of knowledge, a bit of education, I try to stress these factors that will trigger it, which is proper sleep, this and that and whatever. Sometimes I might recommend herbs, for the blood, and then you get that regulated and balanced, and then you won't get the migraines like you used to get them.
So if we're going to come and have treatment in the main, are you going to give the needle? And I presume because we're talking about the liver, is it liver points that you use?
Yeah, again, obviously, yes, some of them, and there's a couple of common ones that we might use, and they're between the big and the second toe, and in the feet. But there's also other points, gallbladder points we might use.
What about the head?
The head, yep. There's one actually just right on top of the head, sometimes here on the side of the head, that we use. And then there's other aspects as well that we can use, if the spleen's involved. But it depends down to the individual needs of the patient.
I suppose most would come to see you, Heiko, they would expect to get the needle, but you also offer moxibustion and herbs. What would make you suggest moxibustion to someone when you might normally use the needle?
Particularly like if there's too much heat and too much yang, then you need to be careful with the moxibustion, because it's actually a fiery hot thing. But if the underlying cause of the problem is deficiency and weakness, then we will use the moxibustion to fill up the empty milk bottle, so to say, to stop that yang sort of rising out again. And again, with the herbs, there are various herbs that we say that bring down the yang. One of them is a common one. It's actually in New Zealand it's power shell, but otherwise we know it as abalone shell. It's a common one that brings down this yang rising. If you think about the shell itself is a heavy type of substance, so it's to weigh down that yang that's coming up into the head. Other herbs, like I mentioned, the dongui might be one of them that we use, and there's many herbs, I suppose. So I'm just trying to stress for people not to rush out and just buy those two and across the board think it's going to be the job.
Would you have all those herbs in your rooms so you can make up a potion for someone?
Yep. So as I said, I have maybe 300 different herbs as part of my sort of medicine cabinet, if you like. And then it's a mix of the herbs. It might be 6, 10, 12 different herbs according to the needs. What's for the patient.
Are there migraines and migraines? Because I think I've told you before, I get migraines, and I probably only had 2 this year, but I don't get any pain. What happens with me is that I almost lose the sight in my left eye. It's always my left eye. And
so again, that's interesting with the eyes, because Chinese medicine, the traditional way, we say that the liver, its opening is the eyes. So if you're getting eye problems, conjunctivitis, loss of vision, blurry vision, cataracts, glaucomas, all these type of things, very commonly the liver is the underlying culprit.
So if we come to, let's use me as that example, for instance, and you mentioned that it's coming on, and I know it's coming on because probably about 5 minutes before it's going to happen, I start to feel a bit spaced out. Would I be advised to carry some of your herbs in like a little capsule form?
Not necessarily, because it's we're better off, because knowing that you have this history of these migraines, I would be suspecting there is a bit of a liver deficiency problem with you. You'd be better off, I think, is that while you're healthy and well, have a treatment to balance the thing, and that will then actually stop that imbalance thing coming up later, causing you the migraine.
Just about out of time, Heiko. We need to get out of here. So before we go, and I know you've got a song, so another one of your weird ones I might have. Just remind our listeners where you are. Well,
I'm at 206 Charles Street, Hastings. My website's there on the YouTube, and here on our new sign here.
Yes, it is. Look at that.
Looking very, very fancy, very professional.
Very flash, like with your gear on.
And just for Troy again once more, I'm just going to sit like this and be quite sort of humble.
That might have to be a trademark in every show. Come and dress like that. What's the song?
And the song is from the Rolling Stones, and the song is I Can't Hear You Knocking, or Can't You Hear Me Knocking?
That's right, from their 1971 album Sticky Fingers. And it started off as a song, and what happened at the end of it was they thought the song had been finished recording, and they just decided to keep on jamming.
For the fun of it.
For the fun of it, but they didn't realise that the guy hadn't turned off the tape that's ended up being over 7 minutes long.
And I don't know if you've ever seen some of the more recent live versions of it.
No.
They're amazing, and then it just goes on for like 15 minutes or something, and particularly with, was it Bobby Keys playing his sax, and
amazing.
Okay, now it's Ronnie Wood doing the guitar, but in the earlier years, it was Mick Taylor doing those amazing guitar solos. So yeah, it's definitely one of my top 10 Stone songs.
It's good to hear, because when I hear it right now, it's going to be the first time I've ever heard it.
Oh, really? Now, first time for everything.
That's right.
All right.
Good on you, Heiko. So, sorry, just give it your address one more time.
Yeah, 206 Charles Street, and I'm hoping the next show I'll be interviewing hopefully John McDonald, Dr. John McDonald from Australia.
Good on you, Heiko. Look after yourself. Talk to the same time, same place next time.
Okay, all the best.